and welcome to Introductory Sociology. It is August 28th, 1937, and we have no internet. Kidding. I tried to do the live stream, but I could not get the internet to connect to my phone. And, time is a-wasting, and we're already like 7 minutes in. So I decided to record the video and of the lecture, and then I will upload the video in later on, and you will get access to it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people here today. We're going to go over in theories, chapter 1. Let's see if that'll do me there. Okay. So for starters, we got the sign-in sheet, and it's very important that I wrote out where the desks are. It's the little lines there are signals for desks. Like this is the left. Wait a minute. Yeah, this is the right side. This is the left side. So you would sign on this first one right here, and anyway, sign where you sit. That way, in case someone does get sick, we can notify the people that were sitting within 6 feet distance from them. So that's why we have to make sure that that's wrote down. And please make sure that you print your name and then sign it however you'd like, because a lot of times I cannot read people's signatures, so make sure you print it to where I can see it, and then you can sign it however. Okay? So, we're going to get started. And everyone said they are able to find the content section of Blackboard, which is great. How about, has anyone been able to locate videos on YouTube, the Sociologically Foster page? Oh, great, you did? Okay. As you can tell, the more into the semester, the more videos there are. And at the beginning of the semester, there's not as many videos, but I'm working on that right now. So like yesterday, I think it was, or day before, I did a little clip going up to about this slide, this PowerPoint slide on a video. So, if you need the information in a lecture format, you can go to YouTube. I'm going to eventually make a document and email it to everyone, or put it on Blackboard, step by step, how to get to YouTube. Sociologically Foster is the name of the YouTube page. And that's where all of my videos are going to be. They're public. I'll never know if you watch them or not. So, and you can watch them at any time, day, etc. It's just there for your benefit. And it's me, basically, with the PowerPoint presentation open, going, teaching, giving a lecture based on the PowerPoints. And like I said, the last video I did stopped right where we're going to pick up today. And then, of course, we're going over the PowerPoints here. This video will be put up, and then, we'll go on from there. But I know there's already review videos for the exam. So, I even do review of the study guides, okay? So, remember, you've got notes, PowerPoints, study guides, and then the quizzes, which, I do want to make a point of this. Quiz 1 is on chapter 1, okay? Now, further into the semester, you're going to notice we only have 10 quizzes, but we go over, I think it's like 12 chapters, okay? So there are going to be some chapters that do not have a quiz. So eventually, it'll turn out to be stuff like Quiz 7 covers Chapter 9. You see what I mean? So like Quiz 7 is not necessarily Chapter 7. Okay, so make note of that, all right? But just, you will know when you go to click on that quiz to take it, it will say what chapter the quiz is on, all right? And note this, that the quizzes are only viewable when they are allowed to be completed by the students. So, for example, right now, if you go to Blackboard, you're not able to see exam 1 because it's not available to be completed. But when it is ready, then you'll be able to see it. Please email me if you cannot find it when it's available. But when it's not available, it's not going to be viewable, okay? And then after the week is finished, after the due date of the quiz or exam, I'm going to allow you to go back and look at the questions that you missed, the answer that you put, the correct answer, stuff like that. So you'll be able to double check, which ones you missed, which ones you need to study more of, etc. Because the final exam is based on the questions that you see on the quizzes and the exams. Okay? All right. Any questions about the content so far? We good? Okay. All right. Well, here we go. Lecture time. And then, side note, about 2:40, if y'all don't mind, somebody give me a little nudge around 2:40 that it's 2:40, the time. And that way I can get us out of here, earlier, because I did, waste time trying to get the internet to work, and I want to get out of here earlier too. It's just I'm trying to be fair. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. All right. In sociology, or the other day I explained what sociology is. And quickly, in a nutshell, sociology is the study of human behavior. And we blame this behavior, most of the time, is that we blame human behavior on the environment or on external social forces. 3 of my favorite words: external social forces. Okay? So, for example, in other disciplines like psychology, for example, they would say the reason for this person's behavior is because of the neurotransmitters and neurons in the brain. It's the individual's fault, right? Or something they were born with. In sociology, we say it's the environment's fault, or it's the people that they grew up with. It's their friends that they grew up with that influenced them to behave this way. It's the social structures in our society that influence people to behave this way. It's the world around us that influences us to behave this way. So that's how sociology looks at the world and social issues and everything else. From an outsider's perspective, basically blaming everything on anything except the individual. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times, I shouldn't have said everything, but because there are exceptions. There are exceptions. Like, for example, I believe it's psychopaths. Psychopaths have a set way that their brains are formed that influences their psychopathy as an adult, serial killing. But they got to know to blend in with society to be able to get away with killing a bunch of people. But anywho's, you see where I'm going? So that could be an individual's reasoning for doing that. But you could also look at sociopaths, which would blame the environment on the reason why this person, killed a bunch of people and got away with it. You see? So sociology, you try to use a non-biased perspective, non-judgmental, and that's a good question. I talked about it a while ago, or the other day on my lecture, on the video. Can you really be non-judgmental? Can you not have biases when looking at social phenomenon or interaction? And when I say biases, as in, I'm going to make this up, totally make this up. And I remember doing a paper on this as an undergrad, that old people can't drive. You ever heard people say that? Old people can't drive, okay? That is a bias, okay? So if I'm going to do a research project on old people driving, well, first of all, what is old? But anyways, if I'm going to do a research project on drivers, well, I've got to throw that bias out the window. And I'm going to have to study, people that drive without thinking old people are bad drivers. You see what I mean? Can you really do that? What I think is that you can. Because sociology our research strives to be objective and non-biased. What you can do is you can figure out what your biases are in the first place, and then recognize them and be aware of them when you do the research. So, if I'm doing a research project on drivers, and I look and I say, I sure am looking at a bunch of old people and reporting that they're wrecking more often. I wonder if that's due to my bias. You see? And then I would reevaluate my research. So, and of course, old people driving, that's or bad drivers, that's a soft, bias. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It can get real ugly. When it gets to gender, race, sexuality, you've got to be able to look at, study social phenomenon without bias. And I hope that throughout this semester, you'll be able to realize your own biases that you may have, and then, realize them, maybe, possibly have some scientific evidence that may counteract that bias, and possibly, may change. It may not. I'm not here to change your morals and values and belief systems, but I am here to give you scientific evidence. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing about sociology. A lot of people think that sociology is just common sense. This is, shit we know. This is, why in the hell am I taking a class on it? Well, it's not common sense. It is actually strenuously, studied using the scientific method. Not on that PowerPoint, sorry. We use the scientific method. We use all of these rules, regulations, procedures, boards, the IRB, all these people to make sure that we do non-biased, objective, systematic studies of people. Now, in an ideal world, we as sociologists would love to take an infant from the womb and put it in a cage and do experiments on it for the rest of its life. Laugh, y'all, I'm making a joke. Okay, in reality, we cannot do that to humans. You can't do that. But that would be the ideal way to study people, right? We can't do that. So what we do is we look at experiences and people, and we come up with ways to understand behavior, without interrupting, what's going on, and without harming individuals. Because a lot of times, like, we make surveys and stuff for people, sociologists work for the U.S. Census Bureau, stuff like that. But a lot of times when we make surveys and we interview people, it comes with a disclaimer that says, here is information to get counseling or therapy in case this influences your thinkings in a negative way. You see what I mean? Because we don't want to harm the participant or the respondent in any way. Harm no people, but we study in people. And sometimes we ask some interesting questions. Anyway, so sociology, there's what it is. Try not to be biased when you do it. There's a lot of rules and regulations to it. It is scientific. It's not common sense. It's not made up. And it's not an opinion. That's another part. Because people, when they hear me say, I don't know, for example, interracial marriages are only at 8% nowadays. And then people are like, well, that's your opinion. No, actually, that's fact. That's scientific evidence, because sociologists have gone and done their research projects, in a way that it is backed up by facts and scientific evidence. You see, it's not an opinion. If I were to say, for example, that the Confederate flag stands for hate, oh, that's your opinion. Well, actually, if you do the research on it and you look at historical records of how the symbol has been used throughout the times, it actually does stand for, it's not an opinion, it's actually based in historical facts. You see? There's a difference between opinions and facts. And what I'm giving you in sociology in class, or the textbook, etc., are facts and not opinions, okay? So, anyway, now you can disagree with all of this. That's fine. You do not have to agree with anything, because that's all on you. It's just your life. You don't have to agree. But I do want to give you facts to, what's the word I'm looking for? To give you, to allow effervescence. What?
Open your mind?
Yeah, to open your mind to different perspectives, not change it, Just open your mind to different perspectives. You know, that other people may think this way. You see what I'm saying? Now, this stuff that I'm saying is facts, scientific facts, but you can agree or disagree with science, right? There you go. So, in sociology, there are three main sections that sociologists use, and that is theory, research, and statistics, okay? So if you are a sociology major, which I guarantee 100% you're not, and that's okay too. Except for, possibly?
Minor.
You are one? Oh, any questions you may have, please ask me and talk to me and email me. Sociology is my life, and doing sociology is my passion, and I would love to talk sociology to you at any time. Because it's not just a job for me. Like, doing this is not just a job. I mean, if you saw my paychecks, you would understand. But, you know, sociology as a discipline is like, it changed my entire life for the better. Like, 360. I'm a totally different person now than I was before sociology. And it's a good thing, too. Very good thing. Anywho's, so if you're a sociology major, you're going to have the big three classes you're going to have to pass in order to get your degree, and that's theory, research, and statistics. Now, in order of favorites for me, this is an opinion, theory is my favorite. Research, I do teach a research class here, and that's teaching you how to do surveys and that kind of stuff. And then statistics is something foreign. I do not know. I'm kidding. No, it's when they put numbers to words, for example, and do all these equations and, you know, statistical analysis and regression analysis and basically putting numbers to what they find qualitative as quantitative. All right? But theory, okay, to start off with, theory is what things are based in. Like, if you're going to do a research project and you're going to come up with a hypothesis, just like you would in a hard science, as they call it. This is a social science, but we still use hypotheses. Or is it hypothesis? I'm kidding. Hypothesis, all right? And here, we'll use my friend from grad school. She did her research project on marijuana usage and relationships. Yeah, you can study weed and be a sociologist. I know, right? You can study anything in sociology. You can study pornography. You can study religion. You can study, Republicans. You can study Democrats. You can study anything. And you can study that desk, I bet. You know? I mean, I bet there's a way. Anyway, she studied marijuana usage and relationships. And I'm going to use this example over the next couple of days or lecture videos or whatnot as our go-to example when we're talking about this stuff in chapter 1. All right? So there's her research project. There's her ideas. She wants to know, what do people, that are in relationships do, or that smoke weed too. Now, when I say weed, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, I know I'm old like Willie Nelson, but some people say they don't call it weed no more. No?
Should still be weed.
Weed? I mean, like one semester I got my notebook out and I was taking notes. They were calling it gas. Yeah? And bud. I was like, I don't know. I'm old school. Like, I don't know. They used to call it dope when I was in high school. And everybody flips out and they're like, don't use the word dope. I'm like, oh. Anyway, I'll just go with weed. Or no, let's be professional. Marijuana. There you go. All right, so now how are we going to find people that smoke marijuana to do a survey or an interview, right? Long story about that later. Seriously, we'll get into that later. But we found some folks. We're going with the hypothesis right now, okay? Let's say she says, her hypothesis is marijuana smoking negatively influences relationships. Okay, there's a statement. Now, she's going to back up that statement using theories. You see? That's where theories come in at. And Howard Becker, back in the 1950s, did a whole bunch of research on marijuana usage. He called it marijuana with an H. He did a whole bunch of uses, and he did a whole lot of research on marijuana. And one thing that he did come out with that was like a big deal is that you're not born knowing how to smoke weed, you learn it. Surprise, right? I mean, that's kind of, but for real though, as in you gotta learn what the munchies are. Think about it. You gotta learn, it's okay to hallucinate, I guess, if you hallucinate when you smoke weed. You see what I'm saying? You gotta learn from other marijuana users how to ingest it. For example, let's go with cigarettes, okay? Something that I know very well. Yeah, smoker since age 15, unfortunately. Okay. Well, you don't have to answer that. But if you have tried to smoke a cigarette for the first time, did somebody have to tell you how to do it? No? You knew how to do it? Did you watch somebody do it?
Yeah.
There you go, see? You watched somebody. Like, how did you know to breathe in and inhale the smoke into your lungs? It's weird, isn't it? Now that you think about it, it's weird.
I mean, you've seen it on TV, you've seen maybe your parents do it, an uncle, an aunt.
How do you hold a cigarette?
Well, you gotta do the cool guy way, either between these or these,
Yeah, or do you hold it in your teeth?
Too Western.
I had a friend that used to hold it in his teeth. And he'd something like that, anyway. Me, I got it between these two fingers, and, when I'm bored and I got a pen in my hand, I'm holding it like a cigarette. What? Right? Anyway, but you learn how to smoke cigarettes. And that's what Howard Becker was trying to say with weed, is that you got to learn how to hold it. You got to learn how to inhale it. You got to learn what to expect from smoking weed. Blah, 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 blah. And he made a bunch of theories, what we're talking about, to help people that studied marijuana usage in the future. Isn't that fun? All right, so we got a hypothesis set up. Oh, here, let me tell you the ending of her project real quick. What did she find? After interviewing people based on people in northeast Mississippi, based on heterosexual couples, most of them cohabitating, one was divorced. All right, and she found a power differential between men and women in these couples. Now, this is the kicker. You would expect in a patriarchal society that the men would have power, right? Like if men smoke, then the woman's going to smoke, that kind of thing. Actually, she found, and see, this is kind of groundbreaking. She found that if the woman smoked marijuana and the man did not, then it was more likely that the man would start smoking. What? And also, turn it around, she found that if the woman stopped smoking weed, it was more likely the man would stop smoking weed. Wow. Like that was a big, huge deal that she found the opposite of what she had expected. Well, wait a minute. She had expected there was a negative influence, which, she did find a negative influence. She says, some of the questions were, does marijuana ever cause any problems for you? And the respondents would say, no, weed's great. Weed ain't never, no problems. And then she'd ask a couple of questions, time would pass, and then she'd come back and say, has your electricity ever been cut off? Yeah, sure has. You see? Well, if you wouldn't have went out and bought that, what do they call it, gas, if you wouldn't have gone out and bought that weed, you probably could have paid your electric bill. You see? So it does have some kind of negative consequences on relationships. Anyway, okay, so all of that talk interesting about marijuana uses, I figured that would be interesting to think about. I could have sat up here and talked about something real, like A plus B equals C. No, let's talk about weed. Trying to explain theories. You got to have theories when you do research. And theories are perspectives or views or ways to view social phenomenon. And the way I like to explain it is, For example, let's say that you have a pair of sunglasses. Actually, you got 3 pairs of sunglasses sitting in front of you. All right? You see 2 people fighting. Yeah. Throat punching. Okay? You pick up the first pair of sunglasses, you put them on, and you look at the fighting, and you understand it through these sunglasses. And then you take them off. And then you put on sunglasses B, and you view the phenomenon through these glasses. And then you take them off. You see where I'm going? You put on C. You view it, take them off. That would be using, for example, the functionalist perspective. Understand it that way, take them off. Then you'd use the symbolic interactions perspective, or you could use the conflict perspective. You can agree and disagree. You can use all 3 and then disagree with all 3. But those are theories, and that they're like a base that have been researched over time and across cultures, and they're the basis of where you start trying to explain social phenomenon. Okay, theories. Okay, so they're a view or a perspective to view social phenomenon with. And in your book, you're going to use 3 theories every chapter. So be very familiar with functionalist or the functionalist perspective or theory, functionalist theory, symbolic interactionist perspective or symbolic interactionism, and then the conflict theory or conflict perspective. Okay? Conflict theory is my favorite. The conflict theory looks at, you'd never guess, conflict. Looks at the struggle over scarce resources. You know, the difference between the haves and have-nots. Okay? Symbolic interactionism is going to look at the small gestures, clothing worn, words used, small nuances in everyday interaction. And then functionalists are going to look at how A goes with B to function in order for C to form. Okay? So now that is a very light way of explaining that. We will get into details later on about explaining those, I promise, more in detail. But that's just giving you a little introduction to sociological theory. Okay? And those are the 3 theories. Like, seriously, each chapter that we go over, and no, we're not going over every chapter in the book. I skipped politics. Really, I did. And I skipped something else towards the end. But anyway, every chapter you're going to go over those 3 theories and how it relates to the topic of that chapter. Like if we're going to go over the topic of gender, then they're going to use those 3 theories to try to explain gender. You see what I mean? Or something to do with gender. And sociology majors or minors, y'all gonna have to know those 3 theories. Those are the big dogs. So anyway, empirical information is basically scientific. And that's, one of the main things we need to know is that sociology is scientific, okay? It's not opinions, it's not made up. There's your definition for theory. There's the definition for empirical information. Now, what's our time? What we got? 35? Okay, so about 5 more minutes. We'll see. Let's talk about Auguste Comte and maybe somebody else, and then we'll go. Okay. So Auguste Comte is this old dude in sociology, and he was for positivism. This is like a type of explanation of social phenomenon or a way of viewing society, okay? Positivism, they want to reform society. They want to make changes in public policies, for example, to make the society run better, or for the good of the group. Let's change this law for the good of the group. It may not be good for the individual, but it's good for the group. You see what I mean? All right, that's positivism. So that's what Comte was well known for. Positivism, as in making change, reforming society for the good of the group. Now let's see if we can contrast him real quick with our next person, which would be Herbert Spencer. Now what did this old dude do? Herbert Spencer had a different idea to positivism. That's why I kind of wanted to go ahead and go over him too. Positivism wanted to change society or reform it for the good of the group. Well, Spencer was like, how about we do social Darwinism? As in, y'all probably heard of Darwinism, survival of the fittest. Spencer was like, how about we just let the fittest people in society survive, and we'll just let the poor people die. What? It's true, okay? I mean, this is how some people think. Social Darwinism. The notion that only the fittest members of society deserve to survive. So if a person was using social Darwinism, which is, contrast to positivism, they would say, no, we're not going to change the laws to help the good of the group. We're just going to let people die out if they can't keep up. You see what I mean? So see how we're covering all different ways of viewing social phenomenon, different ideas. So we got positivism, Compte, reform society for the good of the group. We got Spencer, social Darwinism. The fittest survive. We're gonna let, if we change social public policies, it would mess up society. So we're just gonna let people die out if they can't keep up. Or social programs to help the poor will ultimately weaken the social order. Sounds a little functionalist to me. A functionalist would want social order. They don't like change. That sounds like a functionalist perspective of theory. All right, let's see if we can do one more person before we go. Oh no, we can't start off on Karl Marx, because that's one of my big dogs that I studied. I know a lot of stuff about Karl Marx, but we can't even, I can't do Karl Marx in 2 minutes. But I will do Karl Marx on a video for y'all, or either next time we meet or something like that. Any questions today about theory and about sociology in general? All right, so, and then now we know about marijuana usage as well. Marijuana usage, right? Well, I want to thank you very much for coming today. It means a lot that you took the effort to come, and I appreciate it. And thank you for wearing your mask and staying 6 feet from each other. Please check out the content on Blackboard, your notes, PowerPoints, all that stuff. Take your quiz. It's due at 11:59 p.m. And I'm pretty sure, not positive, but I think social Darwinism is on the quiz. I know it's on the test, the exam. And I know positivism is on the exam. See, I like to tell the answers. Nice. No, look, it's still hard, y'all. When you take the test, it's hard. Might as well give you a little tap. Okay, enjoy your day. Thank you very much for coming. And I'll get this video posted later on, and then y'all can see it on YouTube or my sociology page. All right, stay safe.
Cool, I'm gonna be featured on YouTube.
Right?
Yeah.